Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. I am your host, Mike Larkin, and joining me today is adult star and an amazing, talented, and beautiful one at that, Miss Brianna Dymond. Brianna, it's a pleasure and a privilege. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm good. First and foremost, you do a lot of great work in the industry, and it's great to see a lot of great talents like yourself really on the come up and really showcasing their talents, whether it be in front of the camera and behind the camera. You're really hitting on all cylinders as far as different endeavors in different areas. I got to applaud you very much.
All right, thanks.
You're very welcome. Now, for you, being someone who is another one who's very much like we talk about being a trailblazer, being a pioneer, really showcasing and ushering a new generation into the adult
Yeah.
entertainment industry. For you, how did that industry really gravitate and really come a hold to you, and how'd you get involved in it?
Oh boy. Well, I started stripping 12 years ago, and I think that was pretty much my entry into all the other stuff. The sex work industry is like when you open the closed door, there's like 20 more doors behind it, and it just never ends. So one thing led to another, but I started dancing to fight for custody of my son. And it turned into, a lot more than that. I ended up dipping into porn about 7 months ago now. And I think that was pretty much like the only thing I hadn't done in the adult entertainment industry. So it was really fun to get into. I mean, I'm getting older, so I can only do it for so long, but I definitely wanted to dip into it. I didn't know if I'd like it or if I'd hate it. And I figured after my first couple of shoots, I would know, but I fucking love it. I love it and I wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah, just kind of going on that path and continuing in the adult entertainment industry, still stripping on the side every once in a while.
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say, first of all, that's a hell of a story. I mean, with you custody your child, and then boom, here you are going from stripping into where you are now. No, here's what I love about that too, as well. First and foremost, I think what a lot of people is, and I think as people, we've become more open minded as we've gotten. I mean, it's the year 2022, but there's always going to be that ignorance, that poo poo mindset of, oh God, strip club. It's like, you don't realize, like, a lot of people don't realize, like, it's a career, it's lucrative. Same with the adult entertainment industry. And what I
Yeah.
love about it too, as well, like you talk about stripping, exotic dancing, it all goes forward and kind of hand in hand, like the sensuality and everything that goes into it. It's an art form in itself.
Stripping was really a blessing in disguise for me. Like, even though I went through a lot of hurdles in life and a lot of bumps in the road that led me to stripping, but it was a blessing because I'm actually a really shy person. I was the nerd in high school. I was very, very shy. Never really spoke to anybody, even in my regular 9 to 5 vanilla job, just very, very quiet. But as a dancer, you have to get to know people and you meet all different people with all different personalities, all different walks of life. And it helped me come out of my shell and really helped me define who I am. And yeah, I love it. And that's what kind of opened the door to everything else was, hey, I like this. What else can I do with this? So,
I think it's the here's a term for it. It's the amplification of your character. And I think we all need to have that because I'll be honest, I worked in customer service as a service for like geez Louise, like almost like 10 years now. It's interesting because when you start doing, like, as you put it, the vanilla jobs, and then where I am now with podcasting, it's what it is. It's the shoot job, it's the vanilla job. But once you're under that mindset, then you start doing the old DIY, do it yourself. It's very rewarding, it's very fulfilling, but also at the same time, it's what you learn over the years with how you have that customer satisfaction, how you have that overall engagement with your
yeah,
audience. It's so key in everything really that you do.
yeah. And talking to so many people a day, you really become a people person, or it can be the opposite. Some people hate people now, but I personally, I love it. I love the experiences that people bring, the vibes. I love it. I love the whole industry. Definitely found my niche in life.
I'm going to say this right now, and first and foremost, I think what's great about a lot of the great women that do what they do in front and behind the camera. I look at a woman like yourself, and I think you have that je ne sais quoi, that gravitational pull, if you will. And I think what's great about that too, as well, is you look at the women as a whole, internal and external beauty. And I'm looking at you here, Miss Brianna Dymond. You got that curvaceous voluptuosity factor vibe about you, so you're very appealing to one's eye and to one's men. So I got to give you credit for you, the work of art that you are.
Okay.
You're very
Not
well. No, that's what you have to do, man. That's what you have to do. It's the overall engagement. It's the gravitational pull, and you certainly do showcase that.
Thank you. I started a podcast because in the adult entertainment industry, I feel that strippers and porn stars, I mean, really anybody, even a model, is just misconstrued as somebody that doesn't work hard or somebody that that it's not a real job, you know. And a lot of these girls have education. A lot of them have businesses, serial entrepreneurs, or they're going to school. It's just really, really interesting stories. And yeah, it's just the whole industry and the people in the industry are just amazing.
I gotta say, that's the one thing that always gets me too, and you brought up a valid point here. It's the stigma of like the intelligence there, or you do porn, what have you. Here's the funny part, like you mentioned, like going to college, what have you. I've seen your first two episodes, and I urge anybody to watch the Bad Bitch Arena because it's a great podcast, and I look forward to more. You had on Jaden Ortiz. I'm talking about military. I'm talking about Avi Ryder building her own strip club. There's so
Yes.
many things that they do, and listening to them talking about what they did before pornography and what they're doing here. It's they have a game plan and they have a destination, and it's all about the end game.
And that's part of why I started the podcast because I mean, I'm 12 years in. I could have been doing this 10 years ago, but I didn't have any guidance. And, you know, when you're in the strip club atmosphere, it's really a dog eat dog world. It's if you don't get it, goodbye, you know, or I'm not going to tell you. They say no free game. I think that's what Jaden was talking about on there. And one thing I've learned throughout the industry, though, is when I have these baby strippers come in, that's what we call them as baby strippers. But when they do come in and they ask questions, I try to divulge as much information as I can because I don't want them to be my age in the industry. They should be retired by 25. I mean, that's how good the money is. There's no reason why they shouldn't own like multiple properties, just so many things that they could do, you know?
Right. And that's the thing too. Like, I mean, when you get like to that certain age and valid point, I mean, with today's day and age with OnlyFans and many vids, there's so many lucrative and there's so many financial gain for the money. And I mean, I'll take a look at it like this. I've spoken to a lot of great adult stars and models, what have you. Like OnlyFans was such a hot boom during the COVID
Oh,
pandemic.
yeah.
There's nothing else to do. Here we are, and it's great. And I've seen your OnlyFans. We'll plug that here. You provide a lot of great content. It's engaging, and it's a community all in itself. The OnlyFans thing.
Yeah, I love my fans. I love my fans. When I get messages from them, it's so cool because I may not have ever met this guy, but I know about him. I know what he does. We've had multiple conversations, and it's just great. When I log in, I love seeing my messages. I love seeing the stuff from my fans, and yeah, it makes my day. Really makes my day.
I think that's we talk about the engagement part, but you have to be like that. And I look at it from a stance too as well. There's also that negative connotation with OnlyFans, like, oh, it's just the problem is it goes towards like everybody just thinks it's adult work. It's like, no, people can have different stuff. Like I've seen with OnlyFans, like can help for like cosplaying stuff. There's a niche for everything. There's a little
There's
nuance.
people on there. There's people that are talking about financial stuff on there. I mean, you're right. It's an entire community of people that it's like, hey, I have this knowledge or I have this talent. And if you want to see it, I'd like to be paid for it because you're enjoying it. And so you could put a subscription price on your OnlyFans no matter what you're doing. It doesn't have to be sex work. You could be doing anything. You know, you could do tutorials on drop shipping, you know, and if people really want to see it, they're going to pay for it and they're going to watch it.
I mean, I look at it from a stance too as well, and I think what's great about the human mind and all of us as mind, body, and spirit. I mean, we're all unique. We have all of our preferences, and I think for you, that's got to be very fulfilling as well with that sweet, sweet fantasy. To quote Mariah Carey, everybody has that preference and niche. So, I mean, that's got to feel good for you to see what everybody's all about, what preference and fetish and niche that everybody likes.
Oh, absolutely. It has opened my mind. I would say probably 15 years ago, I would have never heard about the stuff that I know of now, fetishes, niches, all that stuff. It's just crazy stuff that I never would have thought people would watch or pay for. But I've definitely, um, I've definitely grown like a tolerance to everything. I don't think anything shocks me anymore. Anything. I don't think anything shocks me when it comes to fetishes. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you know, I've heard of that, or I'll try it. But I can't really say anything I don't like or kink shame. I guess I love sex.
Well, first and foremost, speaking as the male side of things here, I can also attest to that as far as the sexual nature. But I also look at it from a stance too as well. I think what's great about how we can both all learn from each other, the different kinks, the different fetishes, what have you. I remember as a teenager, and I can equate this to popular culture because popular culture really has a lot on today's youth, today's what have you. It really affects one's mind. But here's what's cool about it. Like I remember as like a teenager, and for those that remember MTV's True Life, like there was one episode where it was like True Life, I'm a dominatrix, right? So they
Yeah.
showcased the world of dominatrix and stuff. And as much as a lot of people would think that's weird or it's kind of, out of the box, it's not really because it's like you
One of the
get
highest in demand.
Right, it's in demand, and you also get to understand the life of what it's like, and you get to see the people that like being slaves or what have you and stuff. It's very interesting if you really analyze, dissect, and decipher.
It is all, I mean, all of it is. All of it is. To me, I love it all, and it's all interesting to me. And you know, every scene is different, which is fun. And yeah, I mean, dominatrix stuff is so old. They even have homes that are dungeons for
Right.
this stuff. And I've been to these homes. Let me tell you, they're freaking amazing. I want to own one day, but they're amazing.
And that's the thing too. And I mean, people talk about, like we mentioned, OnlyFans and many vids, and we'll get into your work here as well because there's a lot of quality content that you provide. Like from the days of like looking at a Cinemax at like 2 o'clock in the morning, saying for your great porn, or you would subscribe to a website. It's so amazing with the evolution of streaming and different sites like X Hamster, X Videos, what have you. It's just amazing just to see the technological side of things, how like everything is at our fingertips from the porn game.
Yeah. And yeah, it's it's pretty cool. I mean, like you said, there's different platforms. You don't have to just go on OnlyFans, but yeah, it's right at our fingertips. Everything is.
And that's the thing too. And I'm going to say this right now, as far as the sex appeal and everything that goes into everything. We talk about sex sales and we talk about that quality content. And what I love about it too is behind the scenes stuff. And I mean, we've seen your work, we've seen so many people's works. Like a lot of people don't realize like how everything goes into an adult scene and how everything just goes into it. It's amazing to see the lighting and everything, the intricacies and nuances that really goes into making said film.
Yes. I would like to actually do a behind the scenes. I do a few, like when I go get tested, I do upload those. I'm not sure if you've seen that or not, but like I'll make little reels out of it because I think it's important to express to everybody, yes, I'm a porn star, but I get tested weekly, sometimes twice a week, just depending on how many scenes I've done. And I think we could all have better sex and more sex if we just stayed safe.
As a young man, I'll put this out here. I'll go a little R&B on you. So I remember back in the day, 99, there was a song by Genuine called None of Your Friends' Business. Protect ourselves and do it right. It's a very important and operative lyric from that song. What I love about that too as well, how you ladies put this out there as well, how you're tested and how it's safe. Boom, let's do this. Because I mean, we see in the day and age in the porn game, what have you, everybody's got to be tested. Everybody's got to do what they got to do. But it's like, God dang, man, it's that reassurance. And it showcases a lot of safety going into said person who you're going to work with.
And you know what the best part is? The
What's
best part is, you know how technology, you can pull everything up from your phone now, right?
right?
So we know there's no documents that are altered. All of the talent has to pull it up from their phone. You could see them log in and get real-time results. So you know you're safe. You know that that's accurate. Um, but I mean, there's a lot of things that come with behind the scenes too, like signing the paperwork, the consent forms. And sometimes there's transactions involved if it's like browsers or black.com, you know? So there's all this stuff that goes down before you even walk in that scene, you know?
And I think it's what's needed. And I also look at it from a stance too as well. This is why I love what you ladies do in the adult entertainment industry as well. I mean, we've seen the glitz, the glamour, and the pageantry from the AVN awards and the fetish cons and everything that goes into adult work and making it really just the overall industry and amazing presentation of the representation that it is. And I got to talk about you here because you are the representation of your presentation, Miss Brianna Dymond, diamonds and pearls over here. You just did your thing on the Instagram front. I'm going to put this out here. We're going to get into your scenes now. One thing I love, you look good. You're probably the sweetest and most delicate angel I've ever seen, Miss Anal Angel over here. I
Thank
loved
you.
it. You're very welcome. The photos came out great. We got to talk about the scene here because I'm like, Madonna me, you got this angel gear going on here. You're looking good. Emphasis on the good. So let's
Are
talk.
you talking about anal angel?
Yes, we got to talk about this because the first thing that pops up on my
Okay.
feed, boom, angels.
Okay. There's two things that are my favorite. That's anal and giving a blowjob.
Okay.
Those two are my favorite. And so pretty much every scene that I'm in, any opportunity I get, I'm sucking dick. So this guy hits me up and he's like, let's collab. And I'm like, okay, you know, I check out his profile and I like all the he's put so much thought into everything. And if you look at that scene, there's a book sitting on the bed, and that book has every porn star's signature in it that he's ever made a scene with, and even like the videographer and stuff. So I got to sign his little book, but he also has all these costumes that he brings for the girls, either a bumblebee or an angel or whatever scenes he's got. He's got tons of this stuff. And it's just very creative, very, very creative because there's a lot of men on OnlyFans, just like there's a lot of women, but I think the men have to try harder. And I think that they have to really stand out to become top percentage, unless you're Karen Lee or Manuel Ferreira, of course, they've been in it for years. But he really does bring his game to the table. He's got this whole thing lined up and he knows what he's doing. But it was a really fun scene, considering it was anal and I was wearing angel wings. It was just, it's hilarious.
It was, and I look at that scene as well. And first of all, great quality content. Everybody, it was great chemistry. It came out very well. But what I also love about that too is like the creative side. You need to have that. And I think from the day and ages of where we'd seen Britney Spears dress up like Baby One More Time, like the schoolgirl outfit, everybody loves a little role play. And I think that really went into that very, very well. And I mean, it showcased. I mean, talk about one of your favorite scenes being anal, and then we'll get into the POV, the BJs here in a second.
Okay.
But god dang, man, no, that's what the variety is, and I love it because there's some little accoutrements that go into that scene. I think it played off very well, and I think a lot of people enjoyed.
Yeah, it sold pretty well, so I think it turned out pretty good. It was a fun scene to make. So usually when they're fun, the videos turn out great. That you could feel that vibe, that energy from the camera, that it's not fake. There's actually some chemistry there, and they're having fun.
Kind of like back in 2008 when I'll date myself here with this movie, little Zach and Miri Make a Porno, where everybody's just going through the scenes, but then you have Zach and Miri and that passion's there. So you kind of equate it to like that image right there. And you actually do see that it equates to everyday life with the adult entertainment industry. Once you have
Right.
that chemistry and that vibe, it sizzles and it works.
Yeah, great. And especially if you've been in the industry for a while, like I know 7 months isn't that long, but I've made quite a few videos. And at first it was very nerve-wracking and you're looking for that connection with somebody. But after a while, it's like, okay, it's like stripping. You meet somebody new, you have to build a connection with them, get to know them, and go from there. But what I really like about everybody in the industry that I've worked with is honestly, everybody's the same. And what I mean by the same is everybody's got great energy. Everybody is so sweet, so kind. And I mean, I feel like we're all on the same journey together because I get along with everybody and everybody gets along with me. I don't hear any bad mouthing about anybody. It's just a really, really, really cool industry to be a part of.
Everybody has the same goal, and I think it's the end game of just putting out great content and really letting it flow and having that great chemistry. And I also look at it from a stance too, as well. Like you, and I say this in the nicest possible way, most respectful way. You kind of get that freak vibe about you, like you're up for anything, you're all game. But it's a good thing. It's a freaky thing. I mean, when Rick James came out with Super Freak, he was talking about you, God rest his soul. But I look at it from a stance too, as well. That side really just also engages a lot of people. Like we talk about that engagement about yourself. And I mean, for God's sake, woman, you did a fivesome scene, which, by the way, besides that it's very sultry and hot, I got to ask this. First ever fivesome. Talk about how this came into fruition. And god dang, man, that's some good content. A fivesome, if you will.
Oh my God. Actually, that was my worst scene ever.
Okay.
This is so funny that you're bringing this up. And I felt that I had burnt bridges and I thought I would never see or talk to these people again. So, like I said, I was very nervous in the beginning.
Okay.
And imagine I hadn't even had a threesome scene yet. And here I was going into a fivesome. First, it started off as a threesome and then a foursome and then a fivesome. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I got told this like the day before. So I'm super nervous. And one of the girls that came to I smoke weed like all day, every day. But I'm telling you, that shit in California is way different because for me, it takes a lot to get me high. I have a pretty high tolerance now. And when I got there, one of the girls was like, I brought a joint. I was like, oh yeah, I need that, right? We split the joint. She was fine. I was so high. I felt like a space cadet during the whole thing. And I told them, I am so sorry. And they're like, what are you apologizing for? And to be honest, I still have not seen that scene because I'm so embarrassed.
As the consumer here and as the producteur, if you will, there's a word for you. One of the things I will say about it's very hot, and really it has that sensuality and has that vibe to it. And for me, I'm gonna say what really piques the eye and the interest in the title Fivesome. It's like, okay, we're really intensifying the scene, if you will. I thought for my stance, and I'm going to speak on myself here, my point of view. I thought it came out great. I thought it was unique, and it had that sex appeal with women like yourself and that, and Sheena Ryder and everybody that really came into that. I thought it worked out well. So I got to say, I got to give you kudos.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But
I was so high. I felt so bad. I was the first one out of there. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting out of here. Like my career is over. That's all I was thinking. There's some big porn stars, I'm like, my career is over. And then yeah, I have another scene with Karen coming up on the 23rd. I'm flying out, so we're good.
Nice. Okay, well, no, that's the thing too. And first of all, the nerves are going to go and do everything, so I get it. And also, I will say as well, and people debate it, but I'm when it comes to weed smoking all day, every day, I hear you 1000%. I know a lot of people that do it. I get it, and it's cool. And I also look at that and I debate it personally myself. And we'll talk about this here briefly. Personally, myself, it's not my thing, but I also have friends and people that do it, and it helps them because I also see I'm not the one who's very close minded about it. I think you can agree with me. There's a lot of stuff that goes with smoking weed that people could be more open minded about and see how much it helps people get through what they're going through.
I started smoking. So during the pandemic, I couldn't go dance anymore. There was nothing. I didn't have. Well, I had my OnlyFans up, but I didn't have any fans. I didn't know how to create content. I had no clue what I was doing. So I'm a single mom, and I started cleaning homes, and it was very stressful because people are very, very picky. I'm a clean freak, but when I say picky, I mean people are picky beyond belief. Anyways, I started cleaning homes, and I built myself cleaning homes into like a cleaning empire. And now we took over the MGM Signature Suites cleaning. And so now I still have this cleaning company and still do all this on the side. But it was the weed that I was smoking. I swear to God, I built this business off of the weed I was smoking because I came up with all these creative ideas and things. I mean, who would have thought that they could build a business, from the ground up? And it was because I stayed calm because I was smoking weed all day, every day, sitting in my office, my home office, mind you. But I would be up till 2 or 3 in the morning just working on building it and building it, building the value of it, and it worked. But I'm telling you, it was the weed. It was the weed that kept me calm through everything.
See, that's what I also I'd like to hear because it does, and I think a lot of people need to realize like how calm and how really reassuring it is for people like yourself. And first of all, I got to give you kudos here, man, because you're an entrepreneur in your own right. But I mean, single mom, cleaning company, stripping, then we get to the adult entertainment industry. I got to say, you're like as people would say the jack of all trades. You're like a Jill of all trades, man. I got to say, I got to give you
Still
kudos.
of all trades. I have a carpet cleaning company too. I built alongside of that one, but
Okay,
yeah.
wait a minute. Hold on here. Okay, so what you're telling me is like I grew up with this, and I think a lot of people could talk about this with the commercials. I remember the old Stanley Steamer carpet cleaner commercials here. So you like the female Stanley Steamer, if you will, kind of deal, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what happened was when I was building my business, I had to look at, I had to analyze what was the most lucrative jobs I had. The most lucrative jobs I had was move in, move out cleans. And as I was doing this move in, move out cleans, they would always ask me for a reference for a carpet cleaner. And I'm like, dang, like if only I knew how to do carpet cleaning. So I started doing carpet cleaning. I taught myself YouTube videos. I mean, you name it. I was up all night learning this stuff. And then I started cleaning carpets with like this little machine, Bissell machine. And I started off by renting it until I got enough capital to actually afford a couple. Was able to get a couple. And then it became so lucrative that I decided to turn it into its own little entity to get a van, an actual custom built van. So now I have my cleaning van and we do grout, tile, wood, and carpet cleaning and upholstery cleaning. We do it all now, everything.
I appreciate the hustle, my friend. I do appreciate the hustle. I think the hustle that goes into it is absolutely wonderful. I'm going to say this right now, and this is why it also brings a smile to my face. So, my mother, who is my hero, I love my mother to death. Like you talk about being a clean freak, my mother
Yeah.
is probably the biggest OCD, and I love her to death for this because my mom's like that too, and it also brings me back to my youth. So, I had this history teacher, social studies in middle school. His name was Mr. Martin. My dude used to love to clean his desk and rearrange the desk. That was his thing, the OCD man. But I can appreciate that because cleanliness is key in everything. So
Yes. Yep. I was cleaning the house over and over again. And my son would ask me, Mom, who's coming over? And I'm like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Nobody's coming over. You can't even go in the store right now. And so he was like kind of looking at me. He's 18 now. So he was about 16 at the time. He's like kind of looking at me like, Mom, how many times are you going to clean the house? And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to go clean somebody else's house for some money, get some groceries.
I can again, I love that respect and also, but no, that makes sense too. And also, when you're in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm gonna say this right now, a lot of people got their creative juices flowing, whether they put out like home workouts or something. But when you can't go anywhere, nothing's open. I can respect that because you don't want to let things go into being a mess. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do some stuff around the house, get your creative juices flowing, or also
I
stay sane.
try to at least.
Absolutely, but no. And I look at it from a stance too as well. Like you talk about, we'll get into the blowjob scenes here right now because I gotta say it's like your go-to, but also one of the best things about it too is who doesn't love a blowjob, number one. And number two, I look at it from a stance, it's a lot of great POV. It's a lot of great work that you've done with people like Lucas and so many amazing people. I know you've done a lot. Yes, exactly. That one, that point of view. I mean, you've done some stuff with, I mean, like my first Asian cock, my first BBC. There's stuff out there that really is gravitational towards the blowjob area, and I think those are high quality, if I do say so
And
myself.
it actually really is. Like that was the first Asian man I've ever been with, and that was the first Black man I've ever been with. And what was cool is like, when I'm talking to these agencies and they're telling me like, do you have any limitations? I'm like, no, I don't. But I told them if you're gonna do an interracial scene, like I want it to go big or go home. And they're like, well, we can't guarantee you that. I'm like, I'll do it myself then. So I got the two best guys in the industry, probably LA Bull and Tribal. And I looked at both of their content. So LA Bull is a little bit more sensual. And then you have Tribal, who's pretty rough. And the two of them together made such a good scene with me. We had so much fun. It was a blast. And then Kenny Kong, when he reached out to me, I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. As long as I can own the content, he can own the content, then to me, it's totally worth it. But it was amazing and can't wait for some more.
I think what's great about porn, and I can speak this, and I think a lot of people can attest this, you have to have that nice balance of sensual and then it's like rough. You know what I'm saying? Like the rough neck, like, all right, give me some like hair pulling, give me some stuff. But
Yeah.
again, it's the variety, but it's also the balance. And I think
Yeah.
balance is key into everything.
Yes. I don't see much like soft porn anymore. Do you? Like, what
No.
is it? These 80s stuff. You know what I'm talking about? I don't see
Okay.
that
All
anymore.
right.
I
So
see more like you're talking about a little bit of sensuality, but then
yeah,
there's a rough play in there too.
okay, we're going to talk about this here because you brought up a great point. I like your style. You also have good taste. I will say this. All right. So I was a kid that grew up in the 90s where like Jenna Jameson is all over the place. She's and all over the internet. And you have like Anna Nicole Smith, God rest her soul, did her thing in the porn game. Yep. Ginger Lynn, who did that movie about oh God, what was it called? It was the one that really did Kinky Business, excuse me, Kinky Business, which had that hot shower scene, which was the take on Risky Business. And you see stuff like that, and then you see like there's Cat House, the series. There's a lot of stuff that's on HBO. There's a Cinemax where it's like Nicole Sheridan all day, every day on like 3 o'clock in the morning. It's the same people, but with a different plot in the porn. So we've come a long way since then, and there's still stuff that's in there. But nowadays, it's just like it's balls to the wall, like you said, go big or go home. And I think that's the great variety of what we see today. And I think it's wonderful for different categories and for stuff that we see with everyone. It's evolved, but I got to say, the nostalgia factor will always, always have a place in my heart.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail. I mean, I think you're absolutely right about that. And I mean, you have to. I mean, the nice little balance that we mentioned here as well. But you also have to look at it from a stance too as well. And I think this is what I love about the adult entertainment industry. You also equate that to modeling, right? Like I've seen your
Yes.
beautiful imagery and so many beautiful imagery at that. But also at the same time, Brianna, I think you can agree with me. It's so great to see the evolution of women in all different facets of life. Also, as well, modeling, man, the modeling side of things, different women of all different shapes and sizes. It's great to see the modeling game.
Yes. Because back in the day, it was what? Tall, white, skinny
Yes.
girls.
Yes.
Now you're right. There's so many different porn stars out there, like, and they're all successful.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter what shape and size they are, what color they are, they're all doing great. So I agree with you. I think it's amazing.
I think what's also amazing too about that is too, like we were talking about like stuff from like the 70s, 80s and the sensual side. I think we also remember back in the day, and I'm gonna put this out there and I'll show my age here. So when Spider Babe first came out, which was the porn parody of Spider-Man that came out in like '02, like this is early 2000s. Like I remember that being on, and then you see like so many different like this is the days
You
before.
have to send me that because I have no clue. I've never seen it. You have to send it to me.
Okay, I absolutely.
Maybe I'll make a remake.
Okay, all right. Well, that also goes into cosplaying and how people like sex scenes with dressed as like a Wonder Woman or stuff like that. You dressed
Right.
as an angel over here, for God's sake. But no, here's the thing: people adore that, people love that. But Spider Babe was a thing, and here was the premise of Spider Babe was exactly like Spider Man with Tobey Maguire: get bit by the bug. Then you turn into, Spider Man, but she turns into Spider Woman, Spider Babe. And after she was done saving their lives, there would be a sex scene. So that was pretty much a lot of the premise. So you would see Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst kiss in that infamous scene in Spider-Man, but we went a whole different way with Spider Babe, man.
I gotta do it. That sounds so interesting.
It is, but like
That sounds like fun. Be Spider Babe too.
book it, book it. I want to.
I'm going to figure it out.
But no, that's like the easiness. It's also the nuances and the intricacies of the storytelling because there is some storytelling with some great porn. Like, I mean, from Naughty America to what we saw then and to what we see now, I think there's so many great and different sites. And I think what a lot of people can see nowadays, like we talk about the technology at our fingertips,
Right,
it's the newbies that are in it, like yourself, like you talk about being an X amount of months, but we also get to see a lot of great talent that we've seen past, present, and future. So I think
right.
it's a good time to be an adult star.
I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Absolutely. No. And I'll add this to you and what we're doing as well. Like for you, Miss Brianna Dymond, like you've done your thing now for X amount of months, like we mentioned, 7 months. You're doing your thing, crazy horse. You're doing your exotic dance and stripping. You're all over the place.
I
You're
am.
and I say that in the most kindest of connotations because I think for me, like I talk about my mom being my hero, like the women just in general are the works of art. They are some of the you're welcome. They're some of the most I'm going to say this right now, exquisite, most beautiful creatures that have ever placed on God's green earth. But I think what's great about it too is we got a lot of strong and powerful women, and this is why
Yeah.
I go back to Bad Bitch Arena over here. It's number one.
Yeah.
Because number one, I love that name. And number two, in your own right, Miss Brianna Dymond, I'm gonna say you're a bad bitch. You're a bad bitch in your own right.
I am a bad bitch. There's a lot of girls and people, I'm just gonna say people in general that don't have potential in life until they're really pushed to the breaking point, and I was there and I really just continued to progress and evolve and turn into a bad bitch. Like most of the bad bitches though in the industry, I think the adult entertainment industry, there's some people that just life pushed them there and they're just natural hustlers. And those are the bad bitches that go on the show, Bad Bitch Arena. Like to let everybody know, like, what they're doing in their lives, and how they're not just porn stars or just strippers or, they're human and they probably have a lot more going for them than the people that are judging them.
I will say this quality work, like we mentioned with Jaden Ortiz and Avery Ryder. What I think I like about that too is as well, I think there need to be as a podcaster in his own right, the variety of different topics and also the variety of different genres, but also when it comes to talking about sex work, the informative nature, the informative
Yeah.
information that you give, but also as well too, it's very interesting and it's very fascinating. And I really urge anyone to go out and watch the Bad Bitch Arena because you're really killing on the podcast game as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, but that's the thing too. And I think what I love with what I do here is, I mean, I interview a lot of people of all facets of life, and I love doing stuff like this because bringing, like we talk about sex workers in the adult entertainment industry, like I'll be honest, man, and I mean, us guys, we appreciate it, we love you, we respect you, but also at the same time, that perviness tends to kick in,
Of course.
of course, but also also at the same time, and I think a lot of us really do enjoy and like to explore our sensuality, our sexuality, and expand our horizons. So I mean, it's a joy to pick one's brain, and also, I mean, who doesn't love a little smut? You know what I'm saying? We got a little love, we got a little lust, and we got a whole lot of sensuality, right?
Yes, it is fun. You brought up being informative on the podcast, and that's another reason why I have it is because there's all these people that are entering, the adult entertainment industry, but there's also a lot of traps that they could fall into. And I got very lucky because I didn't start until I was like 21, 22, but by then I was off and on, and I didn't do it full time up until 6 years ago. So I wish I would have known everything that I know now. And there's still much more to learn, but I have seen girls go from 0 to 100 because they get involved in the game. And what I mean by get involved in the game is they start drinking and partying every night because you're in that atmosphere every night and you forget what you're there for. You're there to make money. You're there to hustle. These guys are there to party, or these, couples are there to party. You're supposed to help them and have fun with them and entertain them. But a lot of girls will get lost in the game and just become alcoholics or drug addicts. And the next episode I'm having, I actually have a therapist on there who specializes in drug and addiction and talks about the adult entertainment industry and the girls that she has helped. And then after that, I have another episode coming out about human trafficking, because I think these girls going into the industry, they need to know what to be aware of before I get any further into the podcast series, because there is a lot of glitz and glamour to it, but there also is some downfall to it. And I think that they have to be aware of all of that stuff before they dive right in.
Beautifully said, and I'll be tuning into those episodes. And I think what you also brought up that's a great point is, man, and I've seen it myself, and I've seen a lot of my classmates from high school that have gone into the very deeps and depths of drugs and alcohol, and it's taken a lot of their lives. But god dang, man, a lot of people don't realize like when you're getting industry, you need to steer them in the right direction because then they'll go to like drugs and alcohol and partying, and a lot of people get
And it's
swept up
very
in that.
easy.
Right.
It's very easy. And, I thank my son. He is off to college now, but I still had to be the example for him. He knows what I do, but he also was with me while I went to college. I had him at 16. So he was with me when I went to college. He was with me when we were struggling. But then he saw, when I got into this entertainment industry that, he was going to a private school. He was living a luxurious life and a healthy life. And so he really supported me in everything I did, but I also am still setting the example. So I had to make sure I drove home every night, not intoxicated. I had to make sure I was there for him when he woke up in the morning to go to school. And if I didn't have that deterrent, I don't know where I'd be at. I don't know if I would have picked up drugs. I don't know if I would have picked up alcohol. I don't really know what I would have gotten myself into because nobody really gave me any guidance. But the only deterrent for me was having my son at home. So I would love this podcast to open up that horizon for a lot of these women going into the industry because if they're aware, I think knowledge is power. And if they're aware of what could happen, then they might be able to stop themselves in the track. Or if they're already there, hopefully, like this therapist that I'm having on the next episode, hopefully they can reach out to her or somebody will to get some help.
I gotta say this. You made me smile once you said knowledge is power, because I'm gonna add a little something to that. Because first of all, very true, very true. It is. But one other thing I love to add to that is in the way I look at life, and I think a lot of us can look at life like this, is life is an art form, and we're all here to apply our crafts. And I think we all have to go out there and stay on the steer and narrow path and straight path and just really go out there and just apply our crafts, no matter what endeavor it may be. We're all doing our art forms, you know what I'm saying? So just go out there and paint that canvas, man.
That's beautiful. I feel that. Yes, 100%.
You, I mean, but no, it's something that I think a lot of people need to stare into. And I mean, when you're young and you're in the game, and I've done this, I mean, young. I'll say this right now. When I was 19, I dated a young lady that was really going into, a lot of the drugs and steered. She was going in a bad way, and I mean, we didn't speak for many of years, but then we finally reconnected. I know she's gotten more into like the spiritual side. I think that's wonderful. And exactly, and that's the thing. I look at it from a stance too as well. A lot of people don't realize what some people are going through. And I look at it from a stance as like, don't judge people for that shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you really need to just, all you can do really is pray and you can do the best that you can to be there for that person. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that really need to stare that straight, narrow path and get back to where they are. Cause I also believe this. I think you can agree with me. I think sometimes we lose ourselves, but it's up to us to find our way back. And I mean, a lot of us find our way back and it's a beautiful story.
Absolutely, absolutely. In particular, in the adult entertainment industry, it's the business has the highest addiction rating for drugs and alcohol. And I did a lot of studies during my podcast, which is kind of what made me start it. I couldn't believe the stuff that I was reading, and like I said, knowledge is power. But it was talking about the PTSD that we get. I mean, just from being a stripper. Did you know rejection actually causes something in your brain that is like permanent damage? So imagine being a stripper and you get 50 rejections in one day, no, 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 no's. And then these girls start fixating on their body and their looks, thinking they're not good enough. And it's just, the industry can eat you up. It really can. But if you're in it for the right reasons and you love what you're doing, then you shouldn't have a problem. But the drugs and alcohol addiction comes with a lot of numbing that emotional or mental stress that the job has. It takes a toll on you mentally.
I mean, we talk about like the evolution. I'll add on to that. I think what's interesting too is, and I would say that I'm shocked, and I'll be honest with you, unfortunately, it's not shocking because I mean, we look at the days of popular culture where women, when you look at from the modeling side of things, they think they have to look a certain way. And like you talk about with stripping and just people think they have to look at a certain way. And then there could be eating disorders and what have you. And even it get worse. Unfortunately, that stuff still does exist today. And I mean, mental health is no joke. I mean, we can also talk into the mental health side of things. It really damages one's psyche and you don't realize the effects like further along.
Exactly. Exactly. It's I went through, I mean, myself, I went through a lot of therapy. There was a lot of stuff that happened in the club, and it's just stuff that now I deal with that I have an understanding because I realize it happens to all the girls there. And it's just the rejection and the things that guys will say when they're drunk, just mean stuff, you know? Um, but yeah, it's, I don't know.
No, 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 no. I looked at it from a stance. No, you said it perfectly. I'll be honest with you. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can be said. I think the bluntest of it is, unfortunately, and I try not to be one of those guys, but there's a lot of guys that'll say the verbal, and women, what have you. There's the verbal side of things, and we always talk about words hurt. I mean, we go from the test of time here, but a lot of those words can trigger something in here, and
Absolutely.
so it happens, unfortunately. And I think
There's
that.
girls that will walk back in the dressing room crying and they're thin, but a guy told them that they're too fat for them. And this is true stuff.
Mhm.
Or a girl walking in and she's too thin. And it's just like you can't win with these guys. And I get it now. It took me a few years and then started talking to these baby strippers. They're going through the same thing I went through 4 or 5 years ago, you know, and I'm kind of coaching them like it's okay. It's not you, it's them. Don't worry about it. You look fine, you know. It's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal.
I think what I've learned is, and I'll say this in the most bluntest of terms, and excuse my language, guys, stop the fucking shaming. And the reason why I say stop the fucking
Yes.
shaming, it's the problem is too, and I mean, people don't see like the layers, and I'm going to use the term here. When it comes to sexiness, there is layers to everything. It doesn't just have to be, body wise, it could be
Yeah.
mind, body, soul. You can like them for the swag, confidence, everything you see in life, whether it be sexiness or what have you, however you want to define beauty, there's layers. Everything is subjective. If you don't like it, fine, but also you could shut your goddamn mouth. But also at the same time, that's the problem. People don't shut their mouths, number one. And also number two, people need to realize the layers of things and just really just look at it for what it is. I mean, for God's sake, if Bob Ross, God rest his soul, when you watch The Joy of Painting, the son of a gun puts the little paintbrush to his little canvas, right? And then 30 minutes, bada bing, bada boom, we got mountains, we got rivers, and we got waterfalls, for God's sake. So if Bob Ross could look at a photo like that, that's how guys should look at their women. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Just
Love that.
well, no, that I mean that's probably one of the most strangest analogies, incorporating Bob Ross in there with his Jew fro. But for
It
God,
was great. It was great.
I mean, but I try to look at it like that as I mean, from stuff like we see as kids and in television. I'm like, the joy of painting is one of the biggest things out there, but also as a stance too. I mean, you go back in the days of the Picassos and when the Mona Lisa was painted, for God's sakes, with Da Vinci. You could look at it from historical things and really equate it to today's day and age, and you can also teach the new generation a little something, something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I mean,
So what's your background?
go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's your background?
So for me, all right, well, we'll talk about this here. So I grew up, and I'll put it like this. So I grew up in a family, Long Island, New York, and what I loved about it too is I had a mother and a father that always worked, put food on the table. So I'll say it, I grew up good, but I also got through some stuff with mental health and stuff like that. But for me, I always look, yeah, as we all do, but I also look at it from a stance too as well, turning the negatives into positives. I always try to see it for the positive side of things. And I mean, we look at things nowadays with trust the process. And I think that's very imperative. I think a lot of people should. That's patience in the virtue. But doing this, like I had a family that came in from radio, like my parents worked for a local station radio station on Long Island. So I knew I wanted to do this. And I mean, talking to people like you and talking to people of all facets of life, whether it be wrestling, music, what have you, I think it's very important that a lot of people need just a platform to tell their story. And that's where I'm here today. And I think I'll say this in the spiritual way. I think this is why God put me on this earth and God put me to do what I do. And now here I'm talking to you. So I think I just let the, thank you. I let the universe tend as unfold as it should, to quote Harold and Kumar. I think the universe needs to tend as unfold as it should.
I really think like this year I found my calling.
Right.
I swear, yeah. And I mean, even though I love what I do with porn, but I feel like I've been through so much in life. And like you, I like to look at the positive of things. I mean, I went through a period a long time in my life where it was like, oh my God, why me? Poor me. You know, why does all this bad stuff keep happening? But like you said, trust the process. I started to just kind of relax, trust the process, and everything always ended up working out, which really just helped me breathe, you know? But everything that I've gone through in life, I have been able to apply to my friends, my son, my ex, my sister, my mom, my brothers. And I feel like I've been through it all. But my knowledge is power, and I love to communicate my knowledge to people that are going through the same thing or something similar that I've that I've been through, for the most part, they listen. I mean, just the fact that my son listens to me is enough. But he's seen me go through most of it, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I feel like the things that I've been through in life, yes, it was hard, but I feel like I'm here to help people and to make sure that they have a safe journey, you know?
I agree. And I think for me, like going through the struggles I have, like we talk about mental health and stuff, like the good and the bad, and trying to see the positive. I think for me, when I was at my lowest, and I'm just like, man, I don't want to be here. I'm tired of it.
Right.
I think what really woke me up. So, and I'll say this right now, I've been very open about this on my show. My mother was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer last year, and oh, it's thank you. And it's rough. I mean, my grandmother had it, breast cancer for the second time when I was in my teenagers. Like she survived it twice. My mother had it last year, and up until this year. I mean, the chemo. It's rough for anybody that's seen a parent go through breast cancer. It's rough. It's not fun. Cancer's not fun. It's horrible. It's tragic. But my mom had surgery back in mid of this year, successful surgery, and a couple months later, we found out that she doesn't have to go for chemo, and everything looks to be on the up and up. So my mother is now cancer free. So that's
That's
why. Thank you, thank
that
you,
is so exciting.
thank you. So that's why I'm always about trust the process, and that also it makes myself want to get my shit together. It's like, man, you got to be here for your mom. You got to be here for your family and friends. So I mean, stuff like that really is very eye opening and eye awakening. I
You know,
really.
I love make the best of it every single day, make it productive and profitable. That's what I say. I hope you have a productive and profitable day, you know?
Exactly. That's why I say, folks. I mean, when you can see what you're going through, what your family's going through, and that's the main thing at the day. It's just being here for your family, being here for your friends, and most importantly, being here for yourself and just living life to the fullest.
Right? Living your best life.
Oh my goodness. But no, that's the main thing. And this is what I love about your vibe and your overall, I'm gonna say your exuberance, man. I think you're a lovely personality and a lovely human being, Miss Brianna Dymond. And I'm gonna say right now, I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I'm looking forward to your podcast. I'm looking forward to more of your scenes, man. And I know you're gonna kill it. So I mean, hey, you're filming your
I'm writing a book and we have like 10 more episodes to go on the podcast, but we have like an end goal with the podcast. I want to create an academy
okay.
for these strippers or anybody entering the adult entertainment industry, how to be a liability, not an asset to a club, and how not to fall down those little rabbit holes that some of the girls do, how to stay away from the pimps. I have been propositioned so many times by pimps. It's kind of comical because like I know their whole spiel, you know, but a lot of these girls that come from very small cities that come here to dance, they don't understand that whole side of the industry and they just fall for it. So like I want to create this little certification and academy that these girls go through and to teach them how to pole dance, teach them what to do with their finances, teach them how to take care of their mental health, teach them about addiction and substance abuse, and teach them how to stay safe.
We're going to talk about this here. First of all, beautifully said. And this is going to equate with where I'm going to go here next. So, writing a book, and I'm going to say this right now, love it. I will be the first ones to read that book. And well, no, I mean, I'm going to say this right now, and this also ties into it. Like when you're a kid and you're just like, you have your reading assignments in school, and I've come to this as I now turn 30. I think as we get older, like, man, like this the simplest stuff of reading books, like you want to read more. And I don't know, people say, oh, that's boring, but like, no, if you actually really look at the fine lines of actually reading a book and really
Yeah.
being more informative, like we talked about, like I'm interested in that because it also, I mean, there was a woman I remember who also like you brought up like pimp stories and being approached by pimps. There was a woman, and forgive me, I can't recall her name, but there was a woman who wrote a book similar to like what you're doing. It's like surviving the pimp world, talking about the pimp game. Like there's a lot of stuff to be weary about and also to
Ooh, send me that link. I want to buy that book.
I absolutely will. But the thing too is as well, like I think what you're doing also is very good, and I think it steers people in the right direction. But also, I think the fact that you're writing a book is wonderful as well. I mean, you get to put it out there, and I think writing a book and putting it out there from print to paper, paper to print, I think it's going
Yeah.
to do a world of good for a lot of people.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, when I was going through like the beginning stages of dancing, I was looking for books to read. And there were some out there, but I think a lot of them are really outdated because it didn't really apply to the industry nowadays. So, I mean, things change every year. Every year, everything changes, but there's some things that stay consistent that was never spoken about in any of these books. And that's what really needs to be out there.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we see the books out there nowadays, I mean, I'll be honest right now. I was watching the Dharma series and I think it's crazy. And here's why I put it from like Netflix. Like, there's a lot of people, like, there was one book I was interested in, like the police officer talking about being at the crime scene with Dharma and all that stuff. Like, that's interesting. But you also have to look at it for those who've not seen the series. I don't mean to give a little spoilers here, but here we go. It's good. I recommend you to check it out on Netflix. But like, it's very interesting. Like, if you think about it, like with everything that was going on, Jeffrey Dahmer's brain and everything that he did that was so horrific, that the father's just like, I'm gonna tell about it from my side. I'm like, dude, there's people dying. There's people. He did like some bad, weird shit. We all know the
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer story, but the fact
Yeah.
of the father to write the book, I'm like, and you wonder why it didn't sell so much because nobody wants to hear your side of the
Yeah.
story.
I noticed for your side.
Nobody wants to hear the side of no, and I'm like, why would you? And here's the problem that I had with it. And I mean, Richard Jenkins told the story very well when he played the father in the Netflix series. But I'm thinking to myself, this man has victimized kids. This man has victimized men. Nobody wants to hear the parents' side of this. That would be like, I mean,
Yeah.
they've done so many stories on this, and I'll equate it to this. So, growing up in the '90s, the big thing is before we had like Sandy Hook and all this stuff that we've seen with school shootings, Columbine was the story, and they've interviewed like the mother of the children who did the unfortunate what happened, killing everybody in the school and shooting it up. Like, it's interesting to hear her point of view, but also at the same time, it's like, God damn it, woman, you're this person's mother, being more involved in the kids' lives. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's what also makes me bad about it. And I don't mean to get to that part, but it's just like, God damn it, man. If you could be more in your kid's life and really actually seeing the warning signs and really be more attentive, because there's a lot of parents out there that just want to be your friends. It's like, fucking really pay attention to the kid and look at what's going on here. But yeah,
when
don't.
when I was going to college, I actually did an entire essay on Jeffrey Dahmer.
Okay.
And the one thing that really stuck out to me is his mother was absent and his father was absent.
Right.
And what I mean, his father being absent is I guess he was going to college, but he was always gone and then coming home late at night. So pretty much his grandmother raised him, is from what my understanding was. But it's hard as a parent. And I think this is why his father's doing this, like talking about it and telling his side of the story. I think it's guilt because as a parent, when my son makes decisions, I automatically look at myself.
Sure.
Like, and this is going to sound so stupid because I smoke weed all day, every day. But when I found out that he smoked a joint, like I cried and I cried. And he was like, Mom, I'm 18. And I'm like, I know, what did I do wrong? I kid you not. And then, like, I mean, he's a really good kid. So that and alcohol is like the extent of how bad my son is. And when I found out he drank for the first time, he went to a party. Oh my God, it was my fault, like in my head. So I think as a father, what Jeffrey did was so horrific that his father's probably trying to redeem himself in some kind of way because he feels guilty. Because you're right, it's a reflection on the parents. And I think that they did need to spend more time with him. Like, there were so many signs there that Jeffrey was ill and they did nothing.
And that's the thing too. Well, first and foremost, I mean, I'm not gonna contradict the fact that, I mean, we as you said on today's forum, that you smoke weed all day every day, which put it on a t-shirt. I love that. But no, at the same time, I can understand from the parents' side of things. It's like, oh my God, like your son's 18. I mean, mind you, he's of the age, he's out of high school, he's doing his thing, but you're at a party and like, oh my God, you drank. Oh my God, you're drinking. Where have I gone wrong? I understand that. It's the guilt.
But imagine Jeffrey Dahmer's father, though. That's
right. Exactly.
hiding under a bridge.
But no, that's the thing too. And I equate it to the school shootings as well, because it's just like, yeah, the mother had guilt of like also where I've gone wrong. But I also look at it from a stance too as well. People would blame like, oh, the Marilyn Mansons and the music and stuff like that. I mean, you could see it from like a different side of like, which is can be very true, but also at the same time, music and all that doesn't make everybody want to go out there and like shoot a school.
No.
We're all wired differently, but I think is what's very apparent is the open-minded side of, let's figure out why we're open-minded differently. Let's talk to this person, see what they're going through, put themselves in their shoes, and let's come to a nice compromise and really like help fix the issue of what's going on here and really help better the person. You know what I'm saying? If you really break it down to someone, it might not help for everybody because we're all different. If you really break it down to somebody, I think that's what we need to do. Just break it down and then boom, see where it goes.
I think what's lacking in this country, because some people are born with just
Yeah.
mental illnesses that are violent, and to them, mass shootings or a murder or whatever is okay in their mind. And I think what we lack here is, one of the parents was talking about it. There was actually a school shooting probably a year or two ago, but she was saying how there was no help for her because her son was a minor and she had been going to different places asking for help and nobody would help her. And when when I was going to school, I did a study about this too. But we need better mental health facilities because they shut them all down. But they need facilities to house these people if you can't help them.
That's the thing too, and I think we need more of that, like you mentioned. And I think it's a shame that we don't have a lot of them, but I think we always talk about one step at a time, and really, like, trying to make that difference one step at a time. I think
Yeah.
we'll get there. I think we will, generally, as a country and as people. I think it's just, unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of time, and I think what a lot of people really need to study more about and be educated about the topics at hand. And I think it's a crime. It really is. It's a shame that a lot of people really don't see this stuff. And I mean, I think
Right.
bringing awareness like we're doing in today's forum, and
Yeah.
what we do in our lives. I think we
Yes.
bring awareness to a lot of people. So I'm gonna leave it at that, man, because I mean, just
Okay.
thinking about that is very deep. And no, like like I said, we're really touching a lot of stuff here on the pod today. But god dang, man, I think it's just the awareness that you're bringing, and I really can't wait to see like these episodes and what you're talking about. But god dang, man, you, my friend, not only you're a diamond, not only you're a pearl, you're a gem to this industry. That's Brianna Dymond. And before we close this out, because you're hitting me right here in the heartstrings, and I love it, I'm going to say this right now: the overture's here. Anytime you want to come back on, talk about your career, talk about the podcast, and just really shoot the breeze and let it flow like we're doing today, you're more than welcome. I really had a joy picking your brain today.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe I'll have you on mine soon.
Oh, I would be delighted to,
You have
please.
to think of a topic in the industry where you belong, but we'll have you on.
Hey, I appreciate that, but no, I love what I do, and I love what you do, and I think a lot of people can understand the sensualness, the vibes, the overall beauty that this woman possesses. I think we're going to see a lot more great content. I know it, as if there are any content as any indication. So
Yeah.
you're very welcome. And what I always love to ask is, I mean, we gave a lot of pearls of wisdom, so to speak. You dropped some knowledge on us today. So for you, when it comes to anybody coming to the adult entertainment industry, you talk about baby strippers and what you're doing, really grooming and just helping a lot of these girls and putting a lot of that knowledge in here. What advice would you give to a lot of girls who want to get into modeling, the adult entertainment industry? Allow a lot of people do camming before they even get into the adult entertainment industry. There's a lot of avenues to go through. But what advice would you give them, Brenda Diamond?
I've done all avenues that you could think of. I've done everything.
Okay.
If you're becoming a baby stripper, that's what I call them, a baby stripper. So if you are getting into stripping, really, like I said, knowledge is power. Really do your homework, do some research. And I'm not just saying this just to say this, but listen to my podcast, read books about addiction, substance abuse, how to prevent it. Also look at the mental and emotional trauma that being a stripper can cause on somebody, and have an end goal and have a vision of how you're going to get in and get out, because it's good money, but it's quick money. And if you get that quick money, you can get in and out in 5 years. You could be done with everything in 5 years if you do it the right way. As far as camming, you can put a mask on your face. Camming is very hard unless you have a really large following. And to get that large following, you probably have to go into porn, because there's so many people on webcam. And if you don't have a name for yourself out there, you might get a few followers, but you're not going to make the big money. If you are just a model, modeling's great. Modeling's fun. You should travel everywhere and take pictures. And sometimes you get free lingerie or free clothes. Modeling's fun. That's pretty simple to get into. And then the porn, I get this question a lot. How did I get into it? Just like I did every job. You got to look for an agency and apply and apply and apply, and one will reach out to you or keep reaching out to them. But stay safe in dancing, save your money in dancing and porn. Both are very lucrative. Treat it like a business. Maybe you learn business books, stay safe. I always tell my sister and my mom where I'm at all times. They have my location, or if I'm flying out to do a scene, they know where I'm at, what hotel room I'm staying in. That way I know I'm safe, because I know that they're going to check on me, in 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, just stay safe, save your money, and read and learn as much as you can. I'm not talking about learning from TikTok or from YouTube. I'm talking about really learn, look at research, look at studies, because there's a way to make this very, very profitable and love your job, not hate it. So a lot of girls that go into it, they end up hating it, and it's because of the decisions that were made or what was thrown upon them at that time. But knowledge is power, so just do your research and love what you do. If it's not for you, get out of it. Don't torture yourself. It's not for everybody.
Beautifully and eloquently said, Miss Brianna Dymond. And I hope a lot of people adhere to those words and what we talked about in today's forum. Now, before we close this out, ladies first, it's not just a Queen Latifah song. You have a lot of great forums, whether it be social media, YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm going to step back here because Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, OnlyFans, there's a lot on one hand there. Please promote the social medias where everybody can follow you.
Okay, Facebook is IVT Consulting. That's kind of like family stuff, though, so that's boring. Instagram is Brianna Dymond 2, and that's BRIANNADYMOND with the number 2, because every time I shut down my account, I'm going to put a new number behind it. And then there's Twitter, which you can see a lot of my XXX clips on there. Twitter is at Brianna Dymond. And then I don't have Snapchat anymore. They shut it down. I wonder why they shut it down. And I can't reopen one either. I put in my email, I put in my number, and it says no. And then TikTok is Brianna.Dymond. So BRIANNA period DYMOND.
First of all, check out this woman on TikTok. We'll start there because no, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of vibrancy. Check her out in the Hotel Motel Holiday Inn over here. Got the towels looking good. My goodness gracious, I like it a lot. Also, as well, besides that, you're a fun follow on Twitter and Instagram, checking out the clips on the XXX side, and also with the beautiful imagery with them angel wings. Hello. But also at the same time,
fans, David's, and YouTube, they're all Brianna Dymond, one word. And YouTube is Bad Bitch Arena. So those are my podcasts on there.
I will be putting those in the links in the description. And for those who want to check out this interview, subscribe to Michael Larkin. It's a simple thing. Type in Michael Larkin. You'll get in the On the Mic with Mike. She'll get in the Lingerie Fighting Championship stuff. You'll get a lot of different avenues of what I do with my podcast and my shows, including great guests like this one right here. There'll be a lot of great topics and a lot of great analyzed, dissecting, and deciphering of a lot of great topics and the overall storytelling of my guests. And I will say this to close this out, as I always do with every show: beauty, strength, and dominance, the 3, count them 3, key elements to make women the work of art that they are: the sexiness, the mom, the beauty, the voluptuosity factor that is you, Miss Brianna Dymond. I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye.